All right, Eli, the draft has come and gone, and that fateful day left the Celtics with 4 picks. We didn't think that Danny was going to hold on to all those picks, and even the results of the picks are a little bit surprising. Mm-hmm. We had our hopes going in. What they did surprised me. First off, let's quickly go over the picks. So at 14, they select Romeo Langford, shooting guard. He's about 6'7", out of Indiana. Then we get Grant Williams from Tennessee. And then we get Carson Edwards out of Purdue and Tremont Waters out of LSU. Overall, how do you think Danny did?
You can never question anything that Danny Ainge does, because if you do, if you're trading with him, you're getting screwed no matter what. You just got to get that in your mind. But I mean, Danny's such a smart guy, and I would never question him, ever. So picking Romeo Langford as a lottery pick, at first I thought it was kind of disappointing, especially with Dumboya available. We were both pretty high of him. But, I mean, so far, his attitude so far, I mean, he's kind of shy, like you said, but I think he's going to come into this league and he wants to just get buckets. That's
so this is a tricky thing. What do we make of his attitude? He has a really cold demeanor. Mm-hmm. We don't want to read too much into it because the kid's here to play basketball. Yeah. But at the same time, man, he's icy. Mm-hmm. He's not the most comfortable, speaker. I begin to question, whether or not his chemistry with his Indiana teammates was as good as it might have been. Maybe he's not sort of the natural born leader type. How much does all that worry you?
Personally, when I first looked at some of the videos and some of the interviews, I thought he just came to the league like, I'm going to be a killer. I want to get straight buckets. And then I saw something on Twitter of Grant Williams saying that what a funny guy. He's outgoing. Purely just
Grant Williams is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he said he's looking to break Romeo Langford out of his quote unquote shell. So
he said that.
Yeah. Oh. So I was like, so that gave me kind of saying, okay, he is shy. He doesn't want to really interact. He isn't a big media guy, I'm guessing. But
there was another shy guy that played for him in the '80s who didn't like the media, and that turned out okay. His name was Larry.
Just okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think Romeo Langford shouldn't have any concerns about him. With these guys, there's really no expectations. We're not, last year we're a contender and that didn't go out well. So this year we're just looking to go into it and just improve. Mm-hmm. Get some of these young guys some playoff experience. And I think, if they have that same mindset and they're ready to win, this team is going to be, feasting in like 3 years max.
Nice. So why do you think Danny picked these guys?
Defense, for one of them. Carson Edwards is a straight bucket, doesn't play much defense. But Tremont Waters, we watched a couple of videos earlier, and he's an amazing defender for his size, and he's
SEC
quick.
Defensive Player of the Year at 5'11". Now that's not an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. 3.2 steals per game, and when you watch the game, it's not that he's a huge gambler or that he's a real liability in the half court. He just is lightning fast. Mm-hmm. He gets in passing lanes and he'll take your candy. Mm-hmm. Like if you're not careful with him, it's almost like having the ball around Marcus Smart. He will grab it from you. And so I think he's one of the rare, sub 6 foot players who's not really going to be a liability on defense.
Unless he's posted up by Joel Embiid, then we have problems. But
there are some players, like when we had Isaiah Thomas, if you remember, even Kyrie at 6'4", just took him to work. Took him in the post and just abused him. I think that can still be a problem for Tremont, but I think he's going to be okay. So Romeo is the pick that some people might be questioning. Why do you think you go Romeo there instead of, say, like Sekou or Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
I can't really tell you because I wanted Dumboya, and I think it's just one of those things, again, I trust Danny, but I think, Romeo Langford, I don't think he was the most exciting pick, but he has a lot of upside to him. So I think if he comes in this league, get some chemistry with the guys in the team, and just gets his mindset, I think this pick, could be really good.
Sure.
He could be anything he sets his mind to be, honestly.
Sure. So a lot has been made of his hand injury, and it was real. He has torn ligaments. They had to be surgically repaired. Looks like all that's going to be fine. But I think you can go back to before that injury occurred. You go back and you look at his high school games, his high school pedigree, and the way he was sort of a legendary Indiana high school player. And if you go back and watch the games, they're on film. You can see them on YouTube now. You'll see why. He went into these, opponents' gyms, and everybody's chanting overrated, and he's dropping 45 on them. And he does it he was doing it then in the flow of the game, making the right play, kicking it out when he was doubled, scoring easily through, in traffic. And some of these games he was playing against some other guys that were fairly highly rated. So truly a dominant high school player. He had the size already. He had the length. He has this finishing touch. I mean, he drives it into the lane, and he just finds a way. He finishes through contact. He gets to the free throw line a ton. And that's another thing that he has in common with the other people in Danny's selections here. Grant Williams, another guy who gets to the line a lot. I think 7 free throw attempts. So he leads the SEC in rebounding. He leads the SEC in points. He leads the SEC in free throw attempts. 2-time SEC Player of the Year. How do you feel about Grant Williams, and how does he fall this far?
At first, I just didn't know much about him. A lot of these picks were kind of like, the only player I really knew out of a lot of these picks are Carson Edwards, because, he straight up a bucket. But Grant Williams, I heard about him from you. Didn't watch much of him, but I think...
Now we've watched quite a bit since the draft, right? So what do we think about his game?
I love it. I think, like I said about, who was it? Not Tumboya. Rui Hachimura. He's saying that he could be like kind of a mini Al Horford. I think this guy, he has the leadership of Al Horford. I think he could be sort of a replacement of Al Horford if he does leave. I
would argue that he can be maybe a better leader than Al Horford, because he's more vocal and he's more outward. And I just see him as the type of guy, he's got this kind of infectious, positive personality. He's always smiling. He's probably going to be the guy who's walking into practice, giving you a hug, or just messing around and always being a positive attitude. Marcus Smart, I feel like, is a high energy guy, but he's more of a frenzied, like attack energy. Yeah. And Grant Williams is more like a, hey, we are all buddies, we all get along type of energy. He strikes me as just a really pleasant guy to be around. I'm going to go ahead and pencil him in right now as the leader, especially among the youth. Maybe he's not going to be that to a guy like Jason Tatum, who's just like a quiet dad and has been since he joined the league. I don't think Tatum needs a whole bunch of leadership. Yeah. Tatum's like, just get out of here. I'm going to sit on the plane by myself. Don't worry about it. But I absolutely love that pick. I think that Carson Edwards, he kind of reminds me of Carlos Boozer. So Boozer is a guy who used to play for Utah. He was out of Duke. He's a little bit undersized, but he plays bigger than he is, in the same way like a Charles Barkley would. Grant is like 6'7" and plays like he's 6'10". Yeah. He's got really long arms. He's really excellent with verticality. He's excellent at staying in front of his guy. He never misses a box out. Just fundamentally pure. I think he can play immediately. And then at 33, Carson Edwards. How do you feel about that pick?
That kid is a pure bucket. His shot release, it is so quick. And I don't think, once he gets hot, it's kind of like Curry. You're done for. Yeah. He's literally not going to miss, and he already has the NBA three-point range, which is quite difficult, to be honest. He shoots it behind the NBA three-point range. Yeah.
He's going to have no trouble with NBA range, yeah.
So, finishing at the rim, I think is pretty decent. Other than that, I think, defensively, again, kind of like Tremont Waters. Versus size, he's one of the best. I think the best, like you said, in college. But we haven't seen much defense from Carson Edwards. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do defensively.
Do you think Carson Edwards can contribute right away? You think he plays this coming year?
I think he plays. Probably be our sixth man, let's just say Kyrie's
six-man type of role. Maybe not literally the sixth man,
literally, but
yeah, an important bench contributor.
Yeah. But, if he does outperform Terry Rozier, which I'm not surprised if Terry Rozier plays like he did last year, I think he could start. Yeah, but I mean, Terry Rozier is going to score 1 bucket every 10 games, and Carson Edwards could be in that starting position. And I think he's good enough to start already. Comparing off Terry Rozier's last year's season, if Kyrie's leaving, he's good enough to start.
Carson Edwards can potentially outplay Terry, you mean?
Mm-hmm. So, but I don't think we should start him. I don't think Brad's going to do that. I think it's kind of a stupid move.
I don't think that'll happen either. But so how do you think Romeo fits in? How does he fit with with Marcus Smart, and then where does he fit related to Jaylen Brown?
Okay, so what I'm thinking is we start Terry Rozier and Jaylen Brown, and then have Marcus Smart at point guard coming off the bench, along with Romeo Langford. Now, that's kind of a problem because also I was just saying Carson Edwards could be playing that. But we have a lot of guards now. Speaking of, I'm thinking about it because I was like, we just had last year kind of a guard problem, and I was like, wait, we have like 4.
We need some bigs though, don't we?
Yeah, we need bigs massively. But I think Romeo Langford, like every single rookie so far, except for probably Grant Williams, should come off the bench. Grant Williams, I think, can start because of our big man problem currently. But
so now you've got Hayward and Jason Tatum.
Yeah,
they're going to start, right?
Maybe we. He's 6'7", but maybe start him at center if we have that much of a problem somehow. But
if Draymond can do it,
yeah,
that kind of deal.
Yeah, but
would Brad Stevens do something that crazy? Yes,
he's done so many crazy things before. So
he's done other crazy things. Okay, and in sort of related news, we don't have Aaron Baines anymore. So so we really need some bigs.
Aaron Baines isn't a guy to keep on your team if you're rebuilding, or growing, because
he's going the youth movement direction.
Yeah, because A, he's not young, and B, you don't really want a guy like him unless he was young. Basically, just there for defense.
He's a specialist defender.
Yeah,
you throw him in there, you can start him against Embiid, and he's probably one of the best guys in the league for guarding Embiid. But yeah, he's got his sort of weaknesses outside of that.
Yeah, but I think. His preference was always to be in a contending team, and that's where he's supposed to be.
That's not where he is.
Yeah. Currently is not where he is.
He went to Phoenix, so.
Yeah, but, he needs to be in a contending team to be... I'm not saying he's going to be bad at Phoenix if he does play there, but, that's where he's going to be most suited at, bring him off the bench, be able to just guard their big man.
Sure.
He's excellent. Him and Horford were excellent versus
I question whether, not to get too far off topic, but I question whether Ayton's going to be a really great defender there, and I think Baines can help out with that. If nothing else, how about a guy to mentor Ayton?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a brilliant idea. Dare I say it? The Suns making a brilliant move. But I think that's a very smart thing. Okay, so 2 questions to round out the video. The first one will put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
The first one is, how would you grade Danny's draft? A, B, C, D, E. No E, probably F.
Yeah. Can I go pluses?
Pluses?
All right, minuses?
Yeah, A plus, A minus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
C plus, C minus, whatever you want.
I'm thinking B plus is borderline A minus. B plus mainly because at the current time of the draft, I thought this draft was like a straight C. They were good players, but these picks, I think we could have done better in my mind. Now that I relook at it, I'm thinking I love this team, coming in the next season. These players that are coming in, they're top tier, and although maybe, looking at it, people may say these guys weren't the best, that you could have picked. I think, look at the Celtics team, look at how we play, I'm thinking these guys were the best to pick for the Celtics team. So I'm thinking B plus.
Okay, I'm with you. I'll give it a B. I'm give it a B plus as well, and I think it's because you drafted 4 guys who are all high character and who can contribute. Romeo also he's got some real upside. A guy who's 6'7" and finishes like that. I've been racking my brain trying to think of a comparison. I would say sort of like a Tracy McGrady. He's less athletic than Tracy McGrady, and he's not as good a shooter. But he maybe is even a better, finisher in traffic. I know T-Mac would be the type to throw down on you. Yeah. But Romeo is really crafty. He's got some nice moves. He's got a just a really great like pro Euro step, and he just finishes with either hand. You know, he's like a 95th percentile of finishing at the rim, so he's very good at that. Okay, so second and final question. Which of these draft picks is going to have the best career as a Celtic?
As a Celtic? Right now, I think with his attitude, Grant Williams. Now, you're thinking why Grant Williams over Romeo Langford? Because Romeo technically should be the better
14th,
player, right? Yeah,
right.
he should be the better player. But right now, Grant Williams wants to be a Celtic. When he was drafted, and the things he said about the Celtics, it's absolutely amazing.
He said it's all about hanging that next banner. The only thing he could have said that would have been better than that was if he said it's all about hanging banner 18.
Yeah.
Because then people would have been like, whoa, he's a student of the game even. He knows the Celtics. But I've heard him talking about Celtics past, Larry and
he was picking his number or whatever, that talk. I heard that.
Paul Pierce talking about the big three, the new big three and the old big three. He definitely seems to be a student of the game. And I'm with you. Even if Romeo is perhaps the more talented player, and sometimes you just have to stick your neck out and go after a 6'7" guy who has potential.
Yeah.
I don't think that he'll realize this, but if there's some guy out there and there's a 5% chance because he's going to be Kobe, and then there's Grant Williams, who's definitely never going to be Charles Barkley or Kobe, but I think he's going to be a really good player. You still do have to roll the dice when you have a 14. Man, you really hate to be that person that let Kobe slip through your fingers. And I think a 6'7" wing who has that sort of shooting touch, maybe not Kobe level, but maybe he can be at that. Call it like a 90 rating in 2K someday. I don't know how long it's going to take. Okay, I like your answer and I agree. We'll give it a B+ for Danny, and looking forward to seeing Grant Williams and the boys play next year.
Yep.